Okay, been back in the workshop, and oh yeah, in the actual workshop. So got the big air compressor and the die grinder. So I got in here and I cleaned up that edge there. Whoops, hang on. So I got in here with the die grinder and cleaned out that edge and smoothed in the transitions and stuff a little bit better. I also have the intake gasket, so I've marked out and given this touch up around each port and cleaned out all the flashing and stuff, like you can see up in here. So it's all been smoothed out and transitioned and taken the sharp edges off. I went through the inlets. So what I did with these, this will be a bit hard to see I think. Okay, so here you can just make out the scribe line. That's a Sharpie mark where I traced around the perimeter to make it a bit more obvious. But because I have the gaskets now, did the gasket matching over on the intake manifold and then transferred that over onto the inlets on the heads here. So I didn't actually open them up all the way, but I did open them up and smooth them out, and I took a little bit more of the roughness and casting out. Right down inside of the bowls here, and you know what, you can't see that too good, so I'm just gonna turn this off. Alright, got the head laid down. So I went back in here with the die grinder, and down in there you can see I cleaned right up against the valve guides there and then blended it into the wall a bit better. Can you see that? Yeah, look at that. That's been blended in pretty nicely now, but I did my best. Just got it shaped so that it kind of scoops there. So what I did with the center exhaust is, because, whoops, there we go. This side, the exhaust exits in this direction. So the direction it'll exhaust from, I cleaned this up, is what I'm saying. I cleaned up on this side. I didn't bother cleaning up the other side because this is the heat riser crossover, and so the heat riser crossover is in that direction. So I didn't clean up that side to restrict flow in that direction because I'm also going to be blocking that off. Then I did something that most people said not to even bother with. This is the factory cast manifold for the exhaust, so here's your exhaust log. You can see there was some casting marks. I cleaned them out, and I did that in each one of the ports. There was casting and flashing. Then when we flip it over, so down in here there was a nice big step. So this was not a smooth transition here. It stepped up, which is always awesome for flow. So I did that, and I did that with both of them. Good news, just went and checked that the shim stack will make, Christ. Okay, there we go. Shim stack, the install height of the springs is going to be fine with those valves. So I'm actually going to go ahead and start installing these. Thought I might actually show you what the heads look like now that they're actually cleaned up and everything else. These guys are pretty well ready to go in. So right away I'm going to be installing the valve springs and the valves obviously, and putting this back together. So actually what I'm going to do, put the shims in. The reason we need the shims is because we eliminated the valve rotators, and because it's an Oldsmobile, the valve rotators sit on top of the valves. So we're actually replacing the original retainers of the aftermarket ones. We need to put 120 thou of shim in, and provided I grabbed them right, yeah, so I'm putting the medium one on the bottom, the thinnest one in the middle, and then the thickest one on the top. Although I'm not sure it makes a difference, it makes me feel better to do that. Some assembly lube around the top, then around just a bead all the way down. Then I put it in the right hole this time, And these are the valves I lapped back in last week after finishing the port work. Then we take the umbrellas. These are valve stems. These ones are the exhaust side. I have to look up the part number for that. So 70437 is the exhaust, and 70393 is the intake side, and they are different. Now, watch this one fight me because the camera's on. Oh yeah. So I'll do it the wrong way. Put these pliers here. First time the valve train runs, this will just sit itself where it needs to be. Spring goes on, the retainer goes on, and then I get to drop the collets. There. It's 2 valves done. Okay, this guy is done. Got the new valve springs and everything in there. The valves are lapped in. Everything's ported, polished, cleaned up. After finishing the heads, I surfaced the intake manifold as well. And I got so excited about it, I unwrapped the block and just gave all of the mating surfaces a quick rundown with a flat iron and some 220 grit just to take the edges off and level everything out, and it's actually looking really good. It's been a while since I've looked at the bores too, and I have to say I think I did a pretty good job. I think this is probably the last time I'm going to touch it for 2021. See you in 2022.